The two-day G20 Leaders Summit in Rio de Janeiro is over. Chinese President Xi Jinping said he was ready to be a partner in the effort to build what he called a just world of common development, reminding the summit leaders of China's success in lifting 800 million people out of poverty and achieving the UN's 2030 poverty reduction target ahead of schedule.
The presence of the Chinese president in Brazil at the G20 is very important. China has very significant trade relations with Brazil, so it is important to participate in exchanges like the G20 on issues such as combating hunger, tackling climate change, fair energy transition, a new global governance, and bilateral relations which deal with matters of economic interest for both China and Brazil.
President Xi said it's important for the world to support developing countries when it comes to sustainable production and international economic cooperation. In the summit's final declaration, participants called for reform of the UN Security Council and to strengthen the role of multilateral financial institutions like the IMF and the World Bank to ensure greater representation for all countries. South Africa now assumes the presidency of next year's G20.
South Africa can count on Brazil to support a presidency that goes beyond what we can achieve alone. I recall the words of another great South African, Nelson Mandela. It is easy to break down and destroy. The heroes are those who build.
There was consensus in the summit's final declaration. It called for a tax on the world's wealthiest citizens to fund two urgent programs: the transition to net zero emissions by mid-century and President Lula's initiative, the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, which was endorsed by 81 countries, including all G20 nations, the EU and the African Union. Brazil's government says its year-long run as head of the G20 was a success, especially because of the first-time inclusion of voices of activists, NGOs, women and indigenous people in the parallel social summit.
The G20 Social Summit permeated the discussions among all the heads of state, and in my opinion, the outcome couldn't have been more positive, bringing together finance, politics, and civil society.
A final group photo op before some bilateral meetings and flights home. Spanning 22 pages, the final declaration also addressed global conflicts, calling for an end to the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, while expressing a deep concern regarding the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Lucrecia Franco, CGTN, Rio de Janeiro.